Hello and welcome to Philosophy 327 Bioethics. My name is Rebecca Fensholt and I'm the instructor for this course. And today I would like to start us with a scenario. So I want you to imagine that you see a trolley. The trolley is driving down the tracks, and suddenly you look up and you realize with horror that there are five people bound and placed on the tracks in front of it. The trolley is not slowing down. You think it looks like there's a problem with the brakes. These people are headed for certain death. Then you look up and you see that there's a lever in front of you. And it appears that if you were to pull this lever, you could divert the trolley onto another track. Unfortunately, as you look further down that second track, you see another person also bound and placed on the tracks. And so now you are faced with a real ethical dilemma. Do you do nothing? Stand passively by while the trolley continues down this path to kill five people? Or do you act intentionally pulling the lever and diverting the trolley to kill a single person? This is called the trolley problem. It's a really famous philosophical thought experiment, and it's so famous because there's no real clear answer on what the right thing is to do. In this case, you're faced with this problem of whether you should let five people die who are facing death or kill one person to spare the five. Now, I want to take the trolley problem and I'm going to present to you a twist with a bioethics slant to it. So, in bioethics, we are concerned with ethical questions related to medicine, medical technology, and healthcare. So, instead of a trolley, I want you to imagine five organ transplant patients. They are all terminally ill, waiting for their transplants and one healthy person just walking around the hospital with a bunch of healthy organs. And it turns out that if you were to kill this one person and harvest their organs, you could transplant them into these five patients and save their lives. Now, whereas in the trolley problem, it seems unclear. There are really strong cases on both sides. Do you kill the one or do you allow the five to die? In the organ transplant case, for most of us, it seems clear that you should not kill a healthy person in order to harvest their organs. For example, if that were to be something that we were to allow or permit, wouldn't we be seeing this all the time? And as it turns out, unfortunately, this is something that we see relatively frequently and increasingly more frequently in hospital systems around the United States. So here's a headline from a few months ago in the New York Times. It reads, "A push for more organ transplants is putting donors at risk. People across the United States have endured rushed or premature attempts to remove their organs. Some were gasping, crying, or showing other signs of life." So this is not such a far-fetched situation, and it appears that the situation is not so clear cut either. And this is a situation in which we are looking towards healthcare professionals to make important decisions and, when necessary, advocate for their patients. I know that many of you are looking at pre-med and medical school in your future, and even more of you are looking at a career in nursing. I will say that nurses have been shown in these investigations to really be on the front lines of advocating for these patients because they have so much more face time with patients, with family members, and such a comprehensive view of each patient's healthcare status that they're able to work with doctors to stand up to the organ transplant organizations that are putting pressure on these transplant procedures before they're actually called for. So the trolley problem is suddenly not so clear, not so far-fetched, and deeply relevant to your healthcare professions. Now, we aren't going to talk much more about this particular issue in this class. We are going to have a discussion about it, and then we're going to move on to many, many other types of situations in which you'll be facing biomedical or bioethical issues in your potential careers. So, for example, if you have a terminally ill patient, do you disclose to them the severity of their diagnosis, knowing that it might cause them anxiety or anguish and won't help them with their recovery? Now imagine you have a terminally ill child who can't comprehend the severity of their diagnosis. Do you disclose to them all of the details of their condition? Imagine a pregnant woman who is having twins, and it turns out that by terminating the pregnancy for one twin might increase the odds of survival for the other. What do you do? Is it okay to perform genetic testing on a fetus to see if they have any potential life-ending or debilitating diseases in their future? Is it ethical to perform that type of genetic testing if it's only available to wealthy families? Is it okay to help end the life of a patient in deep physical suffering? Is it okay to help end the life of a patient in deep mental agony? Is it okay to impinge upon the freedoms of a certain group in order to protect the lives of another? These are the types of questions that are facing medical professionals today. These are some of the bioethical issues we're going to be talking about in this class. So this class is bioethics. We have it broken into 4 units. The first unit is principles and theories in bioethics. Here we're going to be learning about the ethical and philosophical foundations for the types of decisions that you'll be making in medical situations. So you'll be reading some older texts. Sometimes you'll be reading in chapter 2, there's a couple texts that are a few hundred years old, and it might seem that it is not relevant to situations today. However, the texts that you'll be reading lay the foundation for the bioethics scholarship that inform the types of decisions that you'll be making in the medical field at this very moment. Unit 2 is about the medical professional and patient. So here we'll be talking about things like informed consent and patient autonomy. Unit 3 is about justice in healthcare. So there we'll be asking questions about accessibility to healthcare. Who should have access to healthcare? What obligations do we have to increase access to healthcare? And what do we do when there are groups that have limited and unjust access to healthcare? The fourth and final unit is on contemporary issues in bioethics. So here we'll talk about things like genetic testing, pandemic ethics, and end-of-life care. And you'll be choosing one issue to do a short research paper on, about 2 or 3 pages near the end of the semester. So in an online class, I know that many of you are here because you need flexibility. And some of you, maybe this just worked best with your schedule, but for a lot of you, I know that you don't have the ability to sit in class 3 times a week in the middle of the day and take a course. So I know how important flexibility is for you. I have tried to bake that into this class in some of the following ways. For all assignments, you have 5 days to complete them. You do not have to complete them in one sitting. You can open it one day, come back to it the next, wait a few days, finish it at your pace as needed. There is no penalty for late assignments as long as they're submitted by the end of the unit. I do caution you to not put all assignments off until the day that the test is due. If you try to complete 3 weeks worth of work plus a test in one day, you will not be successful and you will not get the learning done that you really need to for this class. I know that my goal for you, and I know that your goal for yourself, is to learn the material. And to do that, it's important to pace yourself following the due dates provided. However, life happens, things come up, especially for those of you who are taking this class while working a full-time job and having families. Maybe you have a job like in the military where you have to travel a lot. So flexibility is key. If you need an extension on an assignment, you don't have to ask me. You can take the time that you need. Just make sure that you're still completing the assignments in the order that they're assigned because the information does build on itself. If you need an extension for an assessment, please reach out to me as soon as possible. That's a different situation, and we'll have to work together to figure out what to do in that situation. And a really important thing about flexibility for you and for me is having open communication. I, like many of you, also have a full-time job. In addition to this, I have a family. I'm not always able to get on my laptop and open Blackboard immediately. So please send an email to me because I can see that on my phone, unlike Blackboard messages, and I can reply to you as quickly as possible. It's also important for you, if you need flexibility, to be open with me so that I can support you and help you in whatever way that I can. Which brings me to my next point, support in an online class. My primary job is to support you in your learning to make sure that you are successful. And in an online class, that looks a little bit different. So I can't see when you're confused or if you look tired or the vibes are just off one week. I can't check in with you the way that I would if I were seeing you in person a couple times each week. So I'm really relying on you to reach out to me if you need support. Tell me what you need, how I can be there. Even if you don't know how I can be there, just tell me that you're struggling or you have something going on in your life, and we can work through it together. I really am here for you, but I do need you to be open with me in telling me what you need. And working together to make sure that you are ultimately learning and successful in this class. I'm also really committed to providing feedback as needed. Now, I might not offer feedback on every single assignment. In that case, if you don't hear from me, think of it as no news is good news. But if there's a major misconception, it's important to me that I address it directly with you on your assignment. However, again, this is an online class. I can't give you a paper with a handwritten note and make sure that you see it. So it's on you to check your assignments to see if there's feedback. I'm not going to be grading your assignments the minute that you submit it. I'll usually get your assignments back to you within a week or two. So you want to make sure that you're keeping an eye on the grade book to see if there's a notification. There'll be a little number that says if you have something new. And open that up and then see if there's feedback for you. It'll tell you in the far right column. Open that up, see what I have to say. Sometimes I might be helping you if there's something that you really need to understand, especially before we get to a test. Sometimes I might just be saying, like, awesome job, you totally, hit that out of the park. And that's good to read too. So always check that feedback so you can get from me some information about how you're doing with the specific stuff in the course. Homework and assessments. This is all in the syllabus. You have weekly homework assignments on Blackboard. There's always a reading. Sometimes there's a video. I will say about the readings in the chapter at the end of each chapter before you get to the actual selected texts. You can't see this in the book. I'm going to put that down. At the end of the chapter part, before you get to the philosophical readings, there's a summary. Always read that summary, and I would recommend to you reading that summary first to give you a roadmap. It just helps with reading comprehension to kind of know what's coming up. I'll also be posting lecture slides with summaries of the text to help you sort of guide and organize your reading. The assignments will almost always have multiple choice and true false questions, as well as some short answer questions. And there will also be a discussion board in which you talk about a case study. So sometimes it'll be an invented case study, sometimes it will be a real case study, either something famous from history that you should know, or something that's going on in the world today. I do want to add that I am open to feedback on the discussion board. My goal for the assignments is that you are only given work that is helpful and supportive to you in learning. So if a discussion board feels like busy work to you, please let me know. In the week one assignment, there is a question for you to give me feedback about the class. Let me know what you think about things like the discussion board. Please use that to let me know if this is not something that you are interested in. I have had varying levels of success with discussion boards and online classes. It really depends on the class and it depends on what students feel they're getting from it. So my plan is to give you a discussion board every week where you'll type just a few sentences, what you might do in a situation, and see what your classmates have to say as well. If that doesn't seem valuable to you, I do want to hear that from you. So just let me know. Assessments. Your units 1, 2, and 3 assessments and your final will be multiple choice, some true false questions. Please use your books, use your notes, use your homework assignments. You might find that some questions are very, very, very similar to your homework questions. That is by design. So please use your materials to help you. My goal for assessments is that you are reviewing information and synthesizing it, seeing how the pieces fit together. My goal is not to have a gotcha moment on a test or pose questions that are more challenging than anything you've ever seen on a homework assignment. As a student, I hated that when tests were designed that way. As a teacher, I never want it to be that way. So tests are really, for me, supposed to be kind of a comprehensive look at a unit or the course. And if you find that a test is particularly tricky or feels unfairly challenging, let me know. That is something that I really want to be aware of. Your only different assessment is in Unit 4, which is when you have that short 2 to 3 page research paper. We'll talk about that as we get to Unit 4. Homework and assessments always posted on Wednesdays by 5 p.m. They're always due on Mondays at 11:59 p.m. a little note on why that's the case. I've found throughout my decade of teaching online that I have a very low submission rate for assignments due on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and a very high submission rate for assignments due on Monday. So your assignments are always due on Monday. I take Tuesday to review all of your work. Just make sure that everything went well and that there were no big major issues where like everyone got a question wrong. If there were some issues, then I take Wednesday to edit and update your upcoming assignment to address those issues. So your assignments will be posted on Wednesday, sometimes early, always by 5 p.m., unless you hear from me otherwise. The one exception is your final assessment. You have all the finals week to work on that. It will be posted on the morning on the first day of finals week, due at 11:59 on the last day of finals week. All of these dates can be found in the syllabus, on the course calendar, in Blackboard, in the folders, in your announcements. You can find these dates multiple places on Blackboard if you get confused. Okay, my last thing is a note about the end of the semester. I am pregnant and I am due at the very end of December. And if all goes well, hopefully that means that there will be a baby at the very end of December. However, babies are their own bosses. It is possible that I might go into labor early. So if that is the case, either I will still finish the course myself, I'll just take a few days off. That is what I did with my first baby. Because I have no benefits and I didn't really have a choice. Um, but fortunately, there's a flexibility with online teaching where I can still get work done even while I'm recovering and taking care of a baby. If there's a complication and I am not able to do that, then someone who is very qualified will take my place. They'll be able to answer emails, grade any assignments as needed, anything like that. I will, of course, keep you posted with any updates, but hopefully none of this will come up and I will just have a baby at the end of December after grades are posted. The important thing for you to know is that no matter what happens, the goal is for you to have a seamless experience. So you will not experience any penalties or hardship or confusion based on my health situation. So please know that going forward, if you get a message from me one day that I will be out for a few days, you probably know what that means. And I will make sure that you are very well taken care of. Okay, I think that's it. That's bioethics. I am so excited for this class. I've never taught it online before, so I'm really excited. I love teaching online classes because I have such a diversity of students and diversity of opinions and responses on assignments. And I think that's going to be really interesting to see with this topic. So I am very excited. I hope that you're excited. And again, if you have any questions or need anything at all from me, please let me know. So that's it for me. Let's do this. I can't wait to see your responses on your first week assignment, and I hope to hear from you all soon. Bye. Have a great week.